This channel, $1 Million Made Easy, we love to run numbers for people. Why did I start this channel? Because I started developing some spreadsheets and I wished I would have known this information 45 or 50 years ago. Because I developed spreadsheets to help, number one, the young adult who's first starting out, number two, the middle-aged person who's trying to do some catch-up investing, and number three, the retiree who wants to know how much he can safely withdraw and have his money last. In other words, I've developed this channel to help most everyone. I'm not a financial advisor, just someone who loves numbers and who wants to help people see the awesome power of compounding. Be prepared to be amazed. What we want to do in this video is look at somebody that's first starting out, say he's 25 years old, isn't exactly thinking about retirement. We would kind of like to know what the numbers might show. So he can afford $200 a month. And we're going to have him increasing that by 3% a year. This shows you the kind of variables we can do on these spreadsheets. So he's 200 the first year, 206 the second, and so on. Where would he be if you use the S&P 500? This is the S&P 500 returns for the last 100 years. The red are down years, the green are positive years. People might panic when they see these reds, but there's been 75 up years and 26 down years. If you're in it for the long term, you will simply be amazed because yeah, you have some down years, even consecutive down years, but then look at kind of the returns you can have after these down years are just incredible. And let's see the actual numbers. So here's somebody putting $200 a month in, 25 years old. When he's 65, this is the 40-year column, and when he's 67, full retirement age of Social Security, unless of course they change it. Let's just look at the 40-year column. Again, folks, this is putting in just $200 a month and increasing that by 3% a year. Over that 40-year period, he would have put in $180,000. And these are the 40-year returns for each of the years for the last 100 years. The minimum in this column you're going to find is $1.240 million. The median in this column, 1.8 million. And there's actually a time when 40-year period where you would have had 3.9 million. I like to take into account inflation because in 40 years, with a 3% inflation rate, these numbers would be the buying power of these numbers down here correspondingly. This 1.2 million would have a buying power of 3.8, 1.8 has a buying power of 5.77, and so on. You got to take account inflation. But look at these numbers with just $200 a month. But let's move on. We were talking about the person who's first starting out. What about the middle-aged person who's trying to do maybe a little bit catch-up, realizing he probably hasn't put in as much as he might have, but he's starting to get serious about it. Say he's got 25,000 and he can afford, he's making a little bit more, so he can afford $350 a month, and he wants to increase that by 3% a year again as he gets raises and whatever. I ran the numbers for this person. A 35-year-old now has 30 years until he's 65 and 32 till he's 67. Look at these numbers. In the 30-year column, the worst case scenario, $1 million. After 30 years of contributing just $350 a month, starting with 25,000. Median in this column, 1.694. Again, the corresponding values, buying power of these amounts are right up here. I just want to show people how little it takes to get to $1 million. That's why we call this channel $1 Million Made Easy, because it's not that hard, especially when you get started earlier and have time for it to work for you. The compounding effect of what the S&P 500 has done over the years. But here's what I did. I'd get in along about here in the 90s, and things are going along pretty good, and then they'd crash here, and I'd get out. Then I wouldn't know when to get back in, so I wouldn't get in right away because I'm afraid it's going to crash again. I'd just start getting back in. It would crash again. I'd panic, and I'd get out, and I would miss out on a lot of these returns. So I didn't have the benefit of this channel running and looking at staying with it for the long term, through all the ups and downs. You can see the reds over here, but look at the ultimate results. You could have a lot of reds there, but the ultimate result after a 42-year period is $1.5 million. If I would have started this when I was like 25, just sticking $200 a month in, which I could afford that back then. I ran the numbers. I would have had 1.5 in the worst case scenario. The median would have been 2.369. But I didn't have the benefit of this channel. I didn't have the benefit of seeing these numbers. I want to get this information out to as many people as possible. Say you're 35 again. These show you the numbers. If you already have some saved up, Put in a little bit more, look at the kind of numbers you can have. You can get to $1 million quite easily if you just get going with, for example, this was $350 a month. But that's what we do on this channel. We run numbers for people. Please consider subscribing. Please tell your friends about this channel. Uh, I'd love to run numbers for people just to show them the potential of what might be out there, just using the simple S&P 500, not trying to get in and get out, not trying to time the market, but just being in it for a long term and watch what can happen when you uh, just stay with it. Again, if you want me to run numbers for you, just give me your beginning balance, your monthly contribution, and if you want to increase that, and we'll go ahead and run it. And it's best if you have like 30 or more years till retirement because truly the numbers are mind-boggling. Again, please consider subscribing, sharing, and liking these videos. And thanks for watching.